Forget JJ McCarthy, because the more exciting Vikings storyline is how their defense will evolve in year 2 under Brian Flores. Already, this Vikings defense has taken the shape of their new coordinator and flipped the script from the past regime. In 2022, under Ed Donatel, the unit was more conservative than a Catholic in Jackson, Mississippi. Built in a heavy zone scheme with the goal to limit big plays, the defense ultimately let too many things slide. They gave up the second most yards and third most points that season, including allowing scores on 41.1% of drives against them, ranking 5th highest and a decent chunk above the league average of 36.2%. While it did take about 4 weeks for Flores' new unit to get up to speed, the defense under him saw major improvements in all of these areas. They gave up the 19th most points and allowed the 17th most yards, and although they still gave up scores on 37.1% of their opponents' drives, the decrease illustrates how they became a much stingier defense to play against. On the field, the biggest change was in how much more aggressive this version of the Vikings defense played. Look no further than their massive increase in blitz rate, going from 24th in the league to 1st by a wide margin, blitzing on more than half of their defensive plays. Throw on any Vikings game from this past season, and you're likely to see 5, 6, even 7 guys up at the line of scrimmage or in the box. This play against the Saints in Week 8 is a good example of this. The Vikings start with 6 up at the line, and New Orleans has 6 potential blockers for them. The art of the play comes in the late shift Minnesota times up with the Saints guard turning his head back around. When he communicates with the quarterback, tackle Harrison Phillips is lined up over the guard, while backer Evon Pace is in between him and the edge rusher. Then, just moments before the snap, Phillips is lined up directly over the center while Pace shifts around to the edge. The Saints slide their protection to their right, meaning the 3 O-linemen to that side will take the 3 pass rushers. The other side of New Orleans' line will try to create one-on-one matchups for Danielle Hunter and DJ Wonnum, but when Wonnum drops into coverage, the left tackle is left guarding nothing. All this helps open up the A-gap where safety Josh Metellus can storm through against a running back coming to block across the quarterback's face. Metellus sheds him without much problem and forces Derek Carr into a desperate pass and incompletion. From just that breakdown alone, you're probably seeing that the Vikings' strategy and blitz rate went beyond simply trying to overwhelm the units across from them. That was part of it for sure, but just as important were the mind games Minnesota played against their opposition. In an ESPN article about how Flores developed this scheme, he said, "It's always, what do we think is going to create some angst for the offense and will force some communication by them? They're trying to get 11 guys to communicate. It only takes one mistake to cut somebody on defense loose. We just try to create as much of that as possible." That late shift against the Saints forces the linemen, running back, and quarterback to resync just before the ball is snapped, just after they've likely locked into what they want to do against the front they're facing. The result is giving an opportunity to Metellus to pressure Carr. Another way the Vikings love to create miscommunication was by disguising ultra-conservative concepts within these more aggressive pre-snap looks. With their high blitz rate and stacked boxes, you could argue that, much like how some teams pass to open up the run game, the Vikings blitz to amplify the effectiveness of their coverage, especially behind inexperienced cornerbacks like a Caleb Evans and Mekhi Blackman, who saw lots of snaps last year. That same ESPN article also references how Flores' defense has the league's highest rates, by a wide margin, in 2 philosophical opposites: blitzes and 3-man rushes. Here's one of those 3-man rushes in action against Green Bay in Week 8. The Vikings start off showing a cover 0 all-out blitz. There are 7 guys stacked up at the line, all in position to pass rush, while 4 defenders appear to line up in man coverage over their assignments with no deep safety to protect downfield. If you're Jordan Love seeing this, you're thinking you've got to get this ball out quick, but if you can hold on to it for just long enough, there's a chance one of your guys beats his defender for the touchdown. Notice how just before the snap, he motions his tight end to the other side to help block against the 4 defenders on that end, potentially trying to give himself an extra second to throw for points. But at the snap, all but 3 pass rushers drop out into coverage while the Vikings play a cover 2 concept. The Packers, meanwhile, just took out a potential route runner to help give additional protection for only 3 guys, while now trying to run 4 pass catchers into a 7-man coverage. In Love's dropback, you can almost feel him hit the eject button on what his initial expectations were, like he's about to try to get this ball out fast until he realizes what just happened. The O-line similarly has a brain fart as 2 of their 6 guys in protection end up guarding nothing, and their tight end is tasked as the main blocker against Wonnum, who bull rushes him and forces a throwaway. Right about now is a good time to give a shout out to The Athletic's Ted Wynn and Coach Vass on YouTube for helping me deepen my understanding of Minnesota's defensive philosophy. They really lean into how the Vikings get quarterbacks to think both fast and slow, forcing a tempo change in their processing that is in direct conflict with how they prepared the play to go pre-snap. You can get a really good sense for how they did this by looking at their splits and coverage calls on third down. They played more cover 0 and cover 2 in these situations than just about anyone. One concept known for its aggressiveness and an all-out pass rush, the other known as a shell defense that limits big plays. And the Vikings can get into either of these coverages while putting the pressure on the offense to react to them post-snap rather than the other way around. Intelligence, versatility, dependability. Those are the 3 words that make up what Brian Flores looks for in his players. Throughout the years, he's often focused more on athletic ability and talent than football IQ. When he first got to Minnesota last year, he said, "I like to think I have a pretty good football IQ, but I can't play. We need guys who can play, who can run, who can hit, who can tackle, who can get off blocks. I put more of a premium on those things." Quotes like this make me believe he trusts that he can teach his concepts to a variety of players at different IQ levels or with different learning styles, and instead wants to be the ringmaster to put those physical gifts in the best possible positions to be spotlighted. Put simply, he thinks in terms of players' talents versus just what their position is and whether they can fit into his system. In fact, I think he views his guys more positionless than many other coaches do. You can see it on the field too, like when all of his players start standing up pre-snap, or how often he has his defensive linemen dropping back into coverage or his safeties coming up to blitz. It should come as no surprise that Metellus and Harrison Smith ranked first and second in pass rush rate for all defensive backs. Through his creativity, Flores helped many members of the Vikings defense thrive. Danielle Hunter put up a career high in sacks with 16.5, Wonnum tied his career high with 8, and Jordan Hicks received his best PFF defensive grade since 2018. But just as quickly as we get to praise those players for having great seasons under Flores, we have to talk about how the Vikings will replace them. All 3 were important to Minnesota's success this past season, and all 3 will be playing on different teams next year. Hunter with the Texans, Wonnum with the Panthers, and Hicks with the Browns. From the outside looking in, it seems the Vikings are hoping to replace their production with a combination of 17th overall pick Dallas Turner out of Alabama, linebacker Blake Cashman, and edge rushers Jonathan Greenard and Andrew Van Ginkel. Turner comes to the Vikings with excitement around his versatility and how he, as a very dynamic player who can line up anywhere, can fit into what Minnesota likes to do. We could see him be a very interesting piece during his rookie year, where Flores and staff may toy around to see where he fits best. Cashman, last year, graded as the 8th best linebacker in the league, compared to Hicks's 23rd grade. Cashman was thought to be better in rush defense, but had a slightly higher missed tackle rate. Greenard comes in after being graded the 31st best edge with the 39th best pass rush grade. His metrics here beat Wonnum's by a decent margin, as he ended the year graded as the 77th best edge rusher and ranked 95th in pass rush grade. Van Ginkel, though, is the most exciting addition by far. Not only does he just look like a Viking already and has played for Flores before, but he seems to be the embodiment of what the DC looks for in his players. Intelligent, versatile, dependable. All those dropouts the Vikings like to do where they put their D-line into coverage? Van Ginkel was second in coverage snaps across all edge defenders, and only 2 graded out better than him. At the same time, Minnesota may not lose anything on the pass rush side with him either. Last year, he ranked 7th in pressure rate among edge rushers. In 2021, his final year with Flores in Miami, Van Ginkel ranked 10th, sandwiched between Myles Garrett and Nick Bosa. While there is a good amount of production that the Vikings are losing with the departure of Hunter, Wanham, and Hicks, it seems Minnesota did a good job this offseason to address those absences with high-quality replacements that have the capability to take this defense to the next level next year. The Vikings are building a unique and powerful defense in Minnesota. It can be easy to get sucked into wanting to know when JJ McCarthy might start for the team, what happens with the Kirk Cousins saga in Atlanta, or if Sam Darnold is actually a viable starting option. But when it comes to the 2024 Vikings, the most exciting storyline of the year may just be how much better this defense can get and how Flores tweaks the scheme he's built. With everything going on there, the Vikings may be one of those rare NFL teams where fans are more glued to their TVs when the defense takes the field. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please remember to give it a like if you did enjoy it and consider subscribing to the channel so you can catch the next one. Thanks, bye.